What's up, guys? It's your boy Zowoki back with another scary, terrifying, and creepy video from Disasterthon True Horror. Now, there's horror and scariness and creepiness and terrifyingness everywhere in the world, but another one that's supposed to be more enjoyable, more thrill-seeking, more get your blood pumping and stuff like that. It is going to an amusement park and enjoying roller coasters, rides, carnival, food, and stuff like that. But what if one of those roller coasters has a complete disaster and threatens your pretty much existence? We're going to be watching right now the Kyle Wheeler fate, pretty much, of the infamous Xcelerator disaster. Now, I was coming across this, I was like, you know what? I've always had a fear of roller coasters. I can go on roller coasters that are not probably higher than 100 feet. I do have a fear of certain heights when I can't. It's a weird kind of a experience, but this is an introductory into being scared of roller coasters, which there is a phobia, but this is the first one we're going to do, which is the fate of Kyle Wheeler, the infamous Xcelerator disaster. So what I would like you to do is grab a chair. I wouldn't say grab a chair or grab popcorn, but get your extra pair of pants, because there are some people out there that can't do roller coasters and probably will wet their pants, probably like myself. So let's take a look. If you guys are new to my channel, if you guys are returning and have not subscribed yet, make sure you guys subscribe right now by hitting that white bell icon down at the bottom right. Hit the bell icon next to it, so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video. Then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, I'm so thankful for all 54,000 of you. I'm truly blessed, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. So make sure you guys keep subscribed, comment, like, and share, and we'll continue to grow together. But speaking of support, check out the link in the description for Disasterthon True Horror. I'm new to this channel. I've just recently subscribed to them as well. Go give them some love by doing the exact same thing. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. And with that being said, let's get in the video.
2009, a day out at Knott's Berry Farm for the Wheeler family turned into a harrowing nightmare.
I remember hearing about this.
Kyle and his father Russell boarded the
Hell no. You couldn't pay me to go on this. Hell no.
Xcelerator roller coaster. The ride, which had opened in 2002, was a fan favourite in the park, and due to its unique hydraulic design, could go from 0 to 82 miles per hour in a matter of seconds.
Nope.
However, 4 seconds after the train left the station, a gruesome incident occurred as one of the launch cables
Disclaimer, they survived.
snapped and whipped towards Kyle. The whole thing was caught on camera, but what exactly happened that day and what caused the cable to snap? Let's talk about it.
And they test these things
is the
every
infamous
day.
Xcelerator disaster, the fate of Kyle Wheeler.
We're also going to look at some other scary roller coaster incidences as well at the end.
In December of 2001, Knott's Berry Farm, located in Buena Park, California, announced its highly anticipated replacement for the Windjammer Surf Racers roller coaster. This would be the Xcelerator, and with Intamin at the helm and $13 million to spend, there was no way it could disappoint, and it certainly didn't. As described on the Knott's Berry Farm website, rocket from 0 to 82 miles per hour in 2.3 seconds as you fly 205 feet into the air, before immediately hurtling 90 degrees straight down on Xcelerator the Ride roller coaster at Knott's Berry Farm.
Did I say no?
Xcelerator was unique to the park and to Intamin, as it was their first hydraulically launched roller coaster. A hydraulically launched roller coaster is an amusement ride that uses hydraulic fluid pressure to rapidly accelerate the train from a standstill to high speeds within seconds. 7 months after it was announced, Xcelerator opened to the public on June the 22nd, 2002. The track length was 2,202 feet, and the duration of the ride would last 1 minute and 2 seconds. The ride was inspired by the greasers culture of the 1950s, and as stated on their website, from the minute you enter the station, you're transported back to the time of greasers, beatniks, and cubes. The safety restraints include a hydraulically operated T-bar lap bar restraint, and a seatbelt, which are checked by operators before the train is released. There are 2 trains and 5 cars, and 20 people can ride at any given time, and before the incident in 2009, the safety record on the Xcelerator was good. They did have one incident in 2004 where the ride was briefly shut down due to deaths on other rides, prompting officials to step in and refurbish the potentially defective T-bar restraint system, but it opened a few months later and continued to be a fan favourite in the park for many years to come. Rarely, a train may not gain enough speed to clear the 205
Is it still open today?
foot climb, causing it to stall and roll back onto the launch
I probably
track
should
where
Googled it.
magnetic brakes stop it. The ride is designed for this, and it can be caused by weather, weight, or overheating. This will come of importance later on in the video.
I'm getting chills already thinking about it.
On the 16th of September 2009, 12-year-old Kyle Wheeler, along with his father Russell and mother Anita Wheeler, visited Knott's Berry Park for a day out. Knott's Berry Farm, located in California, started as a berry farm in the 1920s and evolved into America's first theme park. They were visiting from Weaverville, which is located in Buncombe County, North Carolina. The family spent the day at the park enjoying the various rides it had to offer, and at approximately 4 PM, Kyle and his father Russell boarded the Xcelerator. The two sat in the front row, whilst Anita watched from the sidelines. Now remember, this was a hydraulically launched roller coaster, so when it set off fast. 4 seconds after the train left the station, one of the launch cables snapped. Once it snapped, it viciously whipped out towards Kyle Wheeler and his dad, splitting the car in half. Metal debris along with the cable flew towards Kyle, slashing his calf at 80 miles per hour. Anita, who was watching on in horror, said, "I literally thought that I had just watched my son and husband die in front of my eyes." Kyle was now screaming in pain, as his dad was yelling frantically for ride operators to stop the ride. In a recorded video of the incident, you can see the moment Kyle's face turns from excitement to pure fear, yet remarkably, he keeps his composure.
Something
As
just
one of the launch
snapped.
cables snapped, the ride did not gain enough momentum to clear the 205-foot drop, causing it to roll back, and once it did, the ride operator realised something was wrong and stopped the ride.
Good.
After the ride was stopped, his father ran to get help and emergency services were called. Kyle was transported to hospital and was seriously injured. Another man on the roller coaster was also transported to hospital after complaining of back pain. The ride was immediately shut down, and an investigation was launched.
So what happened?
After the incident, Knott's Berry Farm released a statement saying, "The cable on the Xcelerator ride is changed regularly. It was last changed in December 2008 and is good for 1 year. It was not due to be changed until December." They maintain that regular maintenance was done and also went on to say, "More than 10 million people have ridden the Xcelerator at Knott's Berry Farm over the past 8 years, and this is the first time something like this has happened." However, investigators found this to be false. It came to light that in 2004, a launch cable snapped on a similar ride known as the Top Thrill Dragster, which injured 4 people. Meanwhile, experts from the California Division of Occupational Safety and Health were brought in to examine the ride. It would take them 6 months to conclude their investigation. Ultimately, they found that the incident could have been completely prevented if the cables were maintained properly. They blamed the theme park and the ride manufacturer Intamin. The investigators claimed the maintenance instructions were too confusing and they couldn't determine if the ride needed to be inspected every month or every 6 months. It turns out it was every month.
What?
Knott's Berry Farm inspected the ride every 6 months. However, even though Knott's Berry Farm believed the inspections were to take place every 6 months, they were still 19 days late by the time the incident happened, meaning 19 days before Kyle and his father got onto the ride, the cable should have been inspected and changed. The park released a statement saying, "The investigation identified shortcomings in the manufacturer's instructions regarding the inspection and maintenance of the cable. The state agency had required Knott's Berry Farm to put in place additional safeguards to determine cable viability and to work with the manufacturer to
Holy
revise
crap.
maintenance instructions." The report also indicated that the broken cable showed severe fatigue and discovered that the impact of the accident sheared off 18 out of the 20 magnets located on the bottom of the coaster cars used for launching and braking. Whilst this investigation was going on, it was clear to all that the Wheeler family's lives would change forever. Kyle remained in hospital for months, undergoing multiple surgeries to repair the damage done. He had skin grafts and underwent months of physiotherapy, and thankfully, he regained function in his knee and ankle. His mother said, "This whole experience has been terribly hard on my whole family. I am overwhelmed with emotion most days." She went on to say, "I can't talk about it without crying. It was horrible.
Holy crap.
During his time in hospital, the Wheeler family received bills of up to $60,000, but thankfully they reached an undisclosed settlement with the park to cover this, as well as the emotional distress caused. Kyle went on to make a full recovery, and the Xcelerator would go on to reopen in 2010 and remains open to this day.
Oh man, it's still open?
As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself.
Dang.
If you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member.
Go check that out.
I'm glad Kyle was alright in the end.
No
but
kidding.
This entire incident could have been completely avoided.
No kidding.
I hope his family is doing well.
Alright, so this is top 10 scariest roller coasters in the world 2024 from Coaster Dash.
Roller coaster enthusiast, it's rare that I get freaked out while riding a big roller coaster.
Hell no!
And there's a variety of reasons why. So in this video, I want to count down the 10 scariest roller coasters I've ridden, and not because they're dangerous or unsafe, but because there's a factor that keeps me on the edge of my seat. Honestly, some of the rides I'm most afraid of are ones that are very rough and unpleasant experiences, but I feel like that's a pretty cheap way out of this list. Besides, if you want to hear about my 10 least favorite roller coasters I've ridden, that was released pretty recently. Most would then assume that the coasters on this list are just incredibly tall. And while there are some rankings for some of these rides, I found that once I rode a couple hypercoasters or roller coasters above 200 feet tall for the first time, I got used to those heights and that no longer fazed me anymore.
Hell no!
It really takes a unique type of attraction to scare me, something I'm not used to. And you'll notice that with a lot of these rides, you're kind of being forced to stare at an element before actually experiencing it, so that's why there's some powerful launches that really get me sometimes. Spoiler alert for some of the rides on this list. But I also want to add that with modern technology, roller coaster innovation is being pushed to the limits never thought to be possible, so this list will continuously change over time.
Okay.
Something I definitely keep your eyes on is Falcon's Flight at Six Flags Qiddiya, which is set to be the tallest, fastest, and longest roller coaster when it opens in the next few years.
Are you kidding me? Do you see how tall that is?
I know I said I wasn't scared of heights, but the next tallest coaster to this is like 150 feet shorter, so this is really going to be unlike any other ride in the world. Now, before we get started, I first want to give an honorable mention to rides that aren't all that scary, but have elements to them that could maybe freak some people out. For example, the statue of Phoenix at Knoebels isn't intimidating at all, but since you have such a minimalist lap bar, you go flying up out of your seat and it can feel a little dangerous. Another one is Mr. Freeze at Six Flags Over Texas and Six Flags St. Louis, which are pretty chill for the majority of the ride, no pun intended.
I will watch.
Through, you have these enormous vertical spikes. These things stand more than 215 feet tall, and just when you think you've about made it to the top, you are propelled even higher.
Nope.
Denmark is a ride that I'd by no means consider scary under regular circumstances, but if you ask the ride
that one I would go on
boost mode, you'll probably be a bit on edge. This means your vehicle is sped up on the launch, the mid-course brake runs no longer slow you down, and you're spinning 3 times more than you would otherwise. Here's kind of an interesting
one. My gosh.
Cataplu in Mexico City is known for having...
Does anybody else have like butterflies in their stomach right now? I do.
One little hill that takes place over the edge of a shopping mall. It is nothing but a sheer drop-off, and I certainly remember being a little freaked out there. Having said that, it's the only part of this ride that's even remotely scary, so there's no way I could feature it in this list. Hades 360 at Mount Olympus is probably
we're going there!
Wooden roller coaster I've ever experienced because all you can see is this massive drop and an inversion way on the other side of the parking lot.
I'm not going on that. When the general public
visiting that park figures out you can go beneath the parking lot, it has to be a lot to handle. Last one I'll mention before we get things started, Red Force at Ferrari Land likely would have made this list, except you begin accelerating to extreme speeds before you really have time to process it. It's not like similar rides that make you sit on that launch section and stare up at the rest of the layout before sending you on your way. Alright, now, these are the 10 scariest roller coasters I've ever ridden. Let's jump in. Number 10, Cobra at Connieland. Switzerland's only large-scale roller coaster is one that's become pretty famous around the world because of its one-of-a-kind element known as a scorpion tail. This is essentially an inclined spike that hangs you upside down for multiple seconds, and if you're sitting in the front row, you are taken to the very end of that section of track. I was surprised by how shaky it was, so when my brain put that together with the already freaky-looking scorpion tail, I definitely got a little bit of a pit in my stomach. And maybe I've never seen this attraction because it is to this day the only roller coaster I've ridden where I got lightheaded after getting off. At the number 9 spot is a very unique example of a scary roller coaster, and that's the Axis prototype at SNS Worldwide's facility in Utah. This one makes the list for what should already be pretty obvious. It's a prototype attraction. They build these things so they can see if there will be any issues with a full-size version. Before riding, I was already feeling a bit iffy about signing a waiver that states that S&S is not responsible for any injury or death. But in actuality, it was exceedingly unlikely that anything was ever going to happen. It was more the thought that puts this one on this list. But I'll tell you what, riding Axis was an experience I will never forget. Number 8, Max Force at Six Flags Great America. This is a coaster I got to ride for the first time this year, and I was surprised by how nervous I got waiting for it. I usually get worked up over launches unless there's something about them particularly crazy, and in Max Force's case, it features the fastest acceleration of any launch in the country and one of the quickest accelerations in the world. I'd been watching this ride take off to 78 miles per hour in 1.8 seconds for quite a while waiting for the front row, and I think that had to have fueled my nervousness a lot because my heart started pounding before taking off.
I would like not to throw up.
What an awesome moment. One where a little bit of fear made it all the more exciting. Number 7, Vekoma Giant Inverted Boomerang Coasters. This super rare coaster model has always looked intimidating since the first day I laid my eyes on one. I've now ridden 2 of them, Aftershock at Silverwood in Idaho and Stuntfall at Parque Warner Madrid in Spain. And no matter where I experience it, I'm definitely on edge climbing up those lift hills. Particularly the first one because your entire weight is being held up by this restraint as you climb up 177 feet vertically backwards. And if that wasn't enough, when the ride's getting ready to end, it has to catch you on this same lift, meaning you end up facing down at the ground a second time in the same experience.
No.
But these elements are part of what makes these coasters so unique, which is why I absolutely love getting on them whenever I can. Number 6, Mauer Skyloop.
I'm having a
coasters.
panic
I
attack.
don't think enough people talk about how absolutely ridiculous these rides are. You go up vertically 150 feet, but unlike literally any other roller coaster, the lift hill continues upside down. So you are just hanging there so far up in the sky, and there's nothing you can do about it. If that wasn't enough, you
Oh no!
are very high in the air.
Oh.
You have inversions that are this tall, but it's another thing when the inversions literally hang you several seconds over a sheer drop to the ground. I've ridden 3 of these things now, one in Germany, one in Spain, and one in Finland, and each time I literally could not move at the top. If you're in America and you'd like to ride one of these, your best bet is to head to Magic Springs in Arkansas, which I actually haven't ridden yet, but hope to do at some point.
I'm so good.
Number 5, the Schwartz Cannon at Hansa Park. This one pretty much speaks for itself. You have this enormous 239-foot tower, and you'll never believe what's on the inside of it.
What?
A vertical twisting drop in complete darkness. It looks absolutely horrifying from off-ride, but it's also kind of ridiculous when you're riding it. If you want to keep yourself from any potential spoilers, skip ahead to the next spot on this list, but something else completely demented happens inside of that tower. While you're on a vertical lift hill and you have all this intense music building up, you are dropped down the lift, falling backwards for nearly 200 feet. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced, and I'd be nervous to ride it again even though I already know what it feels like. But it all contributes to the Schwartz Cannon being Germany's best roller coaster and one of my absolute favorites in Europe.
I will
Number
take
4,
your word for it.
Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Oh
Can I just
gosh.
say, I feel bad for making myself ride this for the first time at 10 years old, because this is one of the most horrifically scary roller coasters in the world. Even these days when I get to the park and ride Tatsu, I cannot believe how frightening it is. Aside from already being very tall, perched up on top of a hill, is a
dizzy.
flying coaster rider position. What this means is your vehicle tilts forward so you are riding face down the entire duration of the ride. I've ridden several coasters that do this, and none of them are anywhere near as bad as Tatsu. Because so many of these elements are elevated so high in the air. I mentioned it was perched on top of a hill, so even though the coaster is only about 100 feet tall, you are closer to 200 feet from the bottom of that mountain. It's insane to me how this is only one of 2 roller coasters from this park that make my top 5, and that Tatsu somehow ranks lower than the other one. But we'll get to that later. Number 3 is Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. A ride that you unfortunately can no longer experience. Top Thrill Dragster was a hydraulic launch coaster that operated from 2003 to 2021. The ride's defining moment was its launch from 0 to 120
Why'd they
miles
close
per hour
it?
in 3.8 seconds. But it's what happens before that that grants it a spot on this list. Your train is just parked in front of this long launch section ahead of this 420-foot top hat, which to this day is the second highest coaster element in the world. You were literally just staring at it. Now, in 2023, the ride will return as Top Thrill 2, and as much as I believe the ride experience will be a downgrade from the original, it should be just as, if not more, intimidating than ever before. I say that because they're building a second 420-foot tower, this time in the form of a spike. Even if you only make it, say, 3/4 of the way to the top, staring down at the ground will still be a pretty crazy experience nonetheless. The good news is you can still experience a ride very similar to the original attraction, and that's King Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure at the number 2 spot. This literally does the exact same thing as Top Thrill Dragster, except it's a little bit taller and a little bit faster. That said, when you're on it,
Hell
you can't really
no.
notice a difference, so to me, it's pretty much equal to, or maybe slightly scary.
I just feel my
Aside from
guts.
The fact that my heart pounds nearly every time I ride this coaster, its launch is perhaps my favorite moment on any roller coaster I've ridden, and I always look forward to riding it.
Yeah.
So, what could be number 1? To me, It was a no-brainer, and that's X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love this ride, but part of me always wants to wait off to the side because every time I get to the top of that lift hill, I am legitimately terrified. What makes X2 so insane is it's the only traditional fourth dimension roller coaster on this side of the world. This means your seats have the ability to rotate throughout the ride, and it finds the most interesting ways to use this to its advantage and scare you. The part everyone immediately points to is the initial 215-foot drop where they down to the ground and then flip backwards right as they're about to hit the ground. It is without question the freakiest element on any coaster I've ridden, but it's not the freakiest element on any coaster in the world. Over in Japan, there's a ride that goes by the name of Ejinaika, and this takes the concept of X2 and makes it even crazier. Not only is there far more flipping, but its drop is also considerably larger. I can only imagine that riding this coaster would be a religious experience, and it's currently my #1 bucket list coaster I've yet to ride. But maybe there's something I missed. Let me know down in the comments what coasters you've ridden are the scariest. There are so many different reasons to be intimidated by these rides, and you should by no means feel embarrassed. If you enjoy
I'm embarrassed.
and subscribe to Coaster Dash, you don't miss any content like this in the future. Currently, my analytics show that just 26% of my viewers are subscribed, so if you could do your part to
Go subscribe to them.
I appreciate it very much. Until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Bye, guys.
Okay, so with that being said, if you guys have a scary ride that you have been on or will never be on, comment down below. Which one was your most scariest one? I have chills. I have goosebumps. I am totally not happening on this one. I don't know if I'm going to make a part or another scary video on roller coasters because it is terrifying for me. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed my reaction. If you guys did, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. So please take care, be safe, and as always, keep nerding on, and we'll see you guys next time.